Okay, so we have two simple interest formulas. The first one is if you only want to calculate the interest, and that would be like what we did here. We just used the I equals PRT, and all we got was the amount of interest that was earned on the account. And that's this first formula here. I'm using PV, and I'll use that quite frequently this semester. PV is going to stand for present value, or it's the same thing as the starting value. And then the R and the T are just like we had before. The R stands for the rate, and usually we convert it to a decimal. If you don't convert it to a decimal, be sure to use that percent button on your calculator. And then the time, and the time is in years, and the rate has to be a yearly rate. Those two have to match in their units. So if you have one as a monthly rate and the other is as number of years, you better change your number of years into number of months. Oh, and so then our second formula gives you the total amount that you have in your account. So the total amount. And that would have been nice if we'd used it on the previous problem. It looks a little bit different. It's A equals PV times 1 plus RT. And I want to show you some math real quick. If I take that PV, remember PV goes together, it's one variable, and distribute it, this should look really familiar for the percent increase problem, I would have PV plus PV RT, or PRT. Remember that? PV, that's your present value, that's your starting amount, and then add on to it your starting amount plus, times your interest and times your time. Just like what we did a minute ago, because we had to do the whole thing by hand. Let's take a look at this problem just really quick. If we use that formula, total amount equals PV times 1 plus RT, and then we plug in some stuff. 2,000 for the present value, 0.0135 for the rate, and 1 for the time. And then when we combine all those things, first we work inside the parentheses, and this is going to give us 0.0135, and then when we add 1 to it, we'll have 1.0135. And that I can do in my head, but the next part I can't. So we'll switch to my calculator and do 2,000 times 1.0135. And that matches. And then I push equals. And there it just added the 2,000 onto that value for me. So if you need the total amount, this formula will take you directly to it. So it's a little bit easier to use if you need the total amount in the account. So that's the second formula. The first formula, again, is just going to give you the interest. Sometimes that's all you need to know. Sometimes you need to know the ending amount, the total amount in the account, and the second formula will give you that directly.